Who's first? Ladies. Who's first? Ladies. Who's first? Ladies. What time is it? It's time for the ladies. 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 It's the Ladies First Chit-Chat crew. It's time for the ladies. You want. Be great. Speak what you want. Be great. Speak what you want. Be great. And we're up first. Bonjour, unboxed. Bonjour, unboxed. Bonjour, unboxed. And we're up first. Yes, ladies. That's dope. Yes, ladies. That's dope. Yes, ladies. That's dope. And we're up first. It's time for the ladies. Chit-Chat crew. One time for the ladies in the house. Two time make the people scream and shout. Lachelle, Chandra, Crystal with Nikki. On Boss, Edmay, and Nikki. Hey, 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 hey. L-A-D-I-S, L-A-D-I-S, and we're up first. L-A-D-I-S, L-A-D-I-S, and we're up first. Hey, Lachelle. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Ladies First Chit-Chat crew, where we honor the voice of the everyday woman. How are you, beautiful ladies? I feel like I haven't seen you, even though I did see you on Thursday. It was for a split second. How you guys doing?
Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. You guys.
Good morning.
Oh, good morning, Nick. Let's start with Nikki. Nikki, where you been?
Ooh, I've been in Punta Cana and I'm having makeup issues trying to match my face.
You got a whole different tone.
If you look really close, like I didn't even want to put on makeup. I got burnt like the second day. For all of those who think we don't get burnt, we get burnt. Right? I got burnt the second day.
Well, how was your trip?
It was very good. It was very relaxing. I had a great time with my daughter. It was just perfect. Nice quality time. I recommend that for anyone to be, take time out for just you and your child. So it was very, very nice. And she very much appreciated it. And it was a lot of nice conversation. So I thought it was perfect. Absolutely perfect.
Oh, that's wonderful. I gotta be honest with you. Where you get them little cute little pants and that little cute little green top? I was like, yes.
Oh, yeah, anthropology. Anthropology.
I'm an anthropology girl. That's where this top is from. I love it.
Yeah. We had a couple other looks too. So yeah. And I tried to go there because it wasn't supposed to rain, but it rained 2 days. But it was all good. It was really, really nice. I mean, the rain came and it went. One day it really came. But it was a great time. I can't complain. And the people were really, really nice at the resort that we stayed at. Really nice.
That's wonderful, Nick. Yay. You got any recommendations? You recommend the resort? What's the name of the resort?
I do. We stayed at Secrets Royal Resort and Spa. We had the preferred package. So we had butler service. We had a private pool. It was just really, really, very, very nice. We took massages. She had a relaxation massage. I had a visions of chocolate wrap. I don't know if I'd do that again. It wasn't very relaxing, but I had the experience. You had to like get up twice to rinse off. And actually, I did it the day after I got burnt. So when she was scrubbing, it was a little painful. But yeah, no, we enjoyed every bit of it. The hotel is just really top notch. The food was good. We did dinner out on the beach. I'll probably, if I keep talking, I'll think of other things, but the dinner out on the beach was just beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Of course, you know, most of it's honeymooners, you know, people that are there for anniversaries, but it was really cool to do it with just me and my daughter. And she just thought it was just awesome, you know, like it was just so special. And the food was actually really good for dinner on the beach. It was really, really nice.
Was it adult only or did you see families?
It was adult only resort. And good thing I chose that one. Or I guess maybe she might have appreciated the other one. This one was very, I have to say, so if anybody's looking at a resort, I thought it was very diverse. It was all different types of couples there. There were a couple of girlfriends there, I think. It was just very diverse, and my daughter loved that aspect of it. But it was definitely adults only, 18 and older. But they have a family, you know, a chain. They have Dreams and they have Breathless. Breathless, I think, is a little bit more progressive for the singles, you know, but Dreams is more the family. But I think the one we stayed at was a nice mix of community. And I thought that was really, really nice. I hadn't been to Punta Cana in years. And it was a much different experience, much different.
That's good. That's so good. You talked about making sure you put on sunscreen. This is what I wear.
Well, so this is interesting. So I don't want to keep talking too long. Wow, this is the most I've ever talked at the beginning of the show. But I don't use sunscreen, right? And so I've learned my lesson. I always go out with my dark tanning coconut oil. I mean, I am lathered up in oil. I like the burn. I've been doing it since I was little. We used to go to Cayman Islands every year. Me and my sister would get out there. We'd be one greased up slick, and she's darker complected than I am. But this time it didn't work very well for me. And I bought my daughter, you know, sun tanning lotion, but it had 30 plus in it. And that was much better. She did much better than I got burnt the second day in the sun. You know, again, it's always when the sun's not real strong coming at you. Mm-hmm. And that was the day I got burnt.
And the thing about it is, Nick, you still tan.
Yeah, you do. You do.
It's just.
No, you do. My habit is broken now. And I bought 2 bottles of it. I mean, dark tanning, like let's get dark, burn. And I'm more of a red tone everywhere. But my face, like I saw when y'all was zooming, I tried to cover it. I am just all peeling. I got up, I have to tell you, I got up yesterday because we had trouble with our seats getting back. And I had my glasses on and I just saw this thing like in the front of me and I kept going like this. I took the glasses off, got my camera from my phone, and it was my skin. It was like peeling like a snake. I was like, this is no fun. Like what tan I got, because I was really chocolate, was melting away. It's like just peeling off, just like a snake. But anyway, I'm going to get right back out there though. But I'll use the other stuff because I said I'm not that upset because for the first time ever, I'm like really appreciating the fact that I have a pool and I've never really appreciated it. And it's pretty nice back there. So I wasn't terribly upset outside of the fact that I have to go back to work.
I'm mad that you just figuring out that your pool is really nice.
I don't know what it is. I've had it for years. My daughter's getting ready to turn 19. I think we got it when she was 13. This is the first year that I've honestly started to go out there, sit around the pool, try to enjoy it. This is the first year without, like watching. Usually I just watch everybody else have a good time. This is the first time I'm doing it. And when I came back and while I was there, I was like, this is like at home. I should really enjoy it more. Like I got in the ocean water, and usually I won't get in because you can't see through, in the water. I got in the water. I enjoyed the pool, and I'm just going to continue it while I'm home.
Good for you. That's awesome, Nick.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome. I haven't taken a real vacation in a long time.
Well, it seems like one of your sisters came back bronze and from somewhere beautiful. Tell them where you been.
I was in Jamaica. I was Irie-man. I was Irie. I went to Jamaica last week. I came back this week to celebrate a friend's 50th birthday. And it was a lot of fun. There were about 16 or 17 of us who went. It was a total surprise for him. He knew one or two people were coming. He didn't know the whole crew was coming. And we had a wonderful time. We stayed at a Sandals in the Grill. Fantastic. Food, sun. I sunscreened every time I walked out the door. And had a great time. Everything was lovely. The people, the food, the location, the ocean. We did a catamaran day out at sea, just us on the catamaran. And I snorkeled and swam into a cave in the ocean. And I mean, I'm a Pisces, so give me an ocean. I'm diving off the side of the boat. But it was lovely. It was lovely. I had a great time. And I'm ready to go again.
Me too. We're already trying to plan for the fall. It's like Turks and Caicos or something like that. Yeah.
You need a swim coach with you.
You know what? I probably do. My daughter said every time I get in, I look like I'm about to drown.
And if you go to the French island, you need a translator and a swim coach.
Well, I'll also say that a translator would have been really good on this trip.
My Spanish no so bueno, pero entiendo un poquito. Je parle mieux le français.
Great.
I think Nikki's frozen.
She is. How's your week been?
Frozen in the most unflattering frozen position.
There we go.
Yeah, she is.
Is she back?
We can't hear her, but Crystal, how was your week?
French lady swim coach, how you doing?
Oh, me?
I'm frozen.
I guess I'm the French lady.
I'm frozen.
Swim coach.
We hear you, but you're
very frozen.
Well, we did hear you.
Am I back?
Go ahead.
You can't hear me now?
There you go.
Can y'all hear me now? Okay. I had said, Sister French Lady Swim Coach was talking. How you doing, French Lady Swim Coach?
I'm okay. I'm all right. I'm good, I guess. Had a fun day with my little man this past Thursday. It was just he and I. We went to the Hampton. Of course, we had fun. I'm okay, I guess. Summer is here. I do want to go to the islands. I want to go home. I want to go home to Guadeloupe. I want to be a beach person for like 10 days, like completely, like feel the sand on my toes, smell the spice in the market, and wake up with bird and walk in the grass and walk down across the street to go in the river and, have some rum punch until I pass out on the hammock. And I even want to hear my parents argue, even if they drive me freaking crazy. Yeah. You know that vibe. Go on the boat, and even if it rains, you still go on the boat because that's what we do. The rain doesn't stop us from doing what we got to do. Hey, can we talk about the rain? I have a question. It's completely off subject of what we're going, but I'm just going to shoot it out. Why do New Yorkers cannot drive under the rain? That's a subject question.
We'll save that for another show.
Yeah, just put this in the back of your head because, you guys, we had a lot of rain. I swear to you, I'm like, did you just get your driver's license in the Kellogg's box? Because
not a Kellogg's box. I think that's a great show. Yep, that's a great show, and it's not just New Yorkers. I have some stories to share.
Yeah. Anyway, but I'm good. Passing on the mic to someone else. Nikki, what's going on with your mic and your video?
Good. Chris, how you doing?
I'm doing well. I feel like I want to talk about we just organically went into travel. I have been thinking so much about if we're able to go somewhere this year, if so, where. But I was thinking more about as the world is opening up, just all the wonderful places we've been. And I was like, do we, on short notice, do we go to a place that we have been to over and over, or do we do something new? So I've been living vicariously through your stories and wanting to go somewhere, but I'm like, where do I want to go? I don't know. So, but good week, really, busy, but good. And my best girlfriend from high school is getting married today at 5:00. So, yeah, she is I am so blessed that her soul was assigned to my soul, and that I've been able to live this life with her, with me like this, Carlotta, congratulations. Happy 3 hours before your wedding, boo. So it's going to be amazing. I'm so happy for her. If I keep talking, I'll cry. But yes, I'm excited to go to my homegirl's wedding, and dance in a black dress. That's why I said, if any of y'all that are not married to get married, I'll be at your wedding with a fly black dress on. No bridesmaid look for me right now. I didn't have done that already. I'll be there though, but I'm gonna have on a cute black dress.
Let's shout out to Carlotta. I can't wait to hear about y'all's. I don't know if y'all know, Crystal and Carlotta used to have a rap group, and they about to spit some verses today at the reception. So I can't wait to hear.
Listen, you want to listen? Old school hip hop has a resurgence going on. So you seeing we still cute, we still got a couple of bars. I got at least 8, maybe 16 if my breath hold out. You know what I'm saying? I always tell people I'm way more interesting outside of work. I got stories to tell y'all.
Speaking of old school hip hop, before we go to Chandra, shout out to Biz Markie. We all grew up in my UVA days. Biz Markie was the soundtrack. He used to DJ at my school, and so shout out to Biz Markie. I know DJ John Quick was really close with him as well. So rest in peace, Biz Markie.
I will just add a quick thing. My girlfriend, he wrote Just a Friend about their relationship. Yep. And so we kind of felt like we knew him a little bit more, because when that was going on, she was kind of telling us about it, right? And so she's been posting, and it was a long time ago, of course, but she posted a picture of them from back then, and it just it's crazy when people your age pass away. So it's been very sad. It's been very sad. He brought a lot of joy though, man. We were in a lot of parties in the Latin Quarter. Any New York hip hop heads, or maybe too young to be in parties. We were in a lot of the same parties together with velour sweatsuits on.
Well, speaking of joy, what's up, Shawnee Sean?
Well, praise the Lord, somebody. Come on and look to your neighbor and say, how you doing? Listen, I feel great. I'm doing good. It was a pretty busy week for me. My intention for the week was completion. And so I just continue to take things one by one so that I can complete them. And that was great for me with all the things that I have going on. Being able to really go through my checklist and complete things was like, well, praise the Lord. But I'm also like, where we going? I need to go somewhere. All y'all been going places and traveling and doing all the things, and this is the most I've sat still in a long time, honey, in a long time. So us as well. We have been searching, trying to figure out a place to go. Something that I started with my wife a while ago is that we stopped doing exchanging Christmas gifts like years ago, and we replaced that with a trip or something that creates memories instead of paying all this money for stuff we ain't gonna use in 30 days. So that is something that we started a few years back. Well, before we got married, so like almost 7 years ago, we stopped doing that, and now we've kind of switched that to birthdays for Callie. So people think I'm crazy, but my baby, I want her to have abroad birthdays. I just do. Like, I'm bougie, call it what you want. I don't care. I want her to have abroad birthdays. So her first birthday was in Jamaica. Her second birthday was in Tulum. And so we're trying to find somewhere to go for her birthday. And it just reminded me, which is horrible, I have one of those, like, it's not a timeshare, but it's like a vacation type package that we haven't been able to use because of the pandemic. So it just slipped my mind. But it's with sandals. So I'm like, when you said Dream, I was like, oh, we can go to Dream for like 2 days, 3 days real quick and just, have a little get out of New York time and celebrate Callie's birthday. And so I think that I'm going to look into that today. But yeah, I just need some sand between my toes. Okay.
Well, I love that. I just left with some sand between my toes, and I say,
all y'all have had sand between your toes within the last.
That's right, Nikki. Because Nikki just touched down. You just touched down from the West Coast.
I know, and it's today we're talking about traveling, and my mom just texted me and said, Nick, your screen connection is a little off. No, Mom, I don't know why. Thank you, though. We'll figure it out as we go. No, today our show is about traveling, and we talked about just the experiences and growth that we all have from traveling. And so many of us have traveled. Nikki and her daughter just came back from Punta Cana. Michelle just came back from Jamaica. I was in LA for work and just got back. Crystal was in LA a couple weeks ago. Edmay's back and forth to the Hamptons right now. We know she travels all over the world. Shani was just in LA, and now we're all talking about taking a trip together. So today we're talking about the benefits of traveling and how it makes us feel. And one of the questions I want to throw out to all of us and everyone, we said, are you a corner store traveler or a cross the bridge traveler? Let's unpack that. What's a corner store? What's across the bridge?
Let me tell you. I'm across the border traveler, right? I want to cross borders because that's where you learn. But being in New York, people would be surprised, but so many people really want to come to New York to vacation, right? We all know it's a big destination worldwide. But it's so interesting because I'm a New Yorker and I've grown up here. And I was sharing with you ladies earlier this week, I know people in this city who literally have not left their neighborhood. Years ago, when my husband and I were just dating, he had his own apartment in Harlem, and his cousin, my husband grew up on the Lower East Side. His cousin decided to move uptown with, my husband. And when he moved from the Lower East Side to Harlem, which mind y'all is on the same island in New York, it was his first time like crossing 14th Street. Like, he had literally never left the Lower East Side. So that's a corner store traveler, right? Someone who stays super, super local, only goes to their local pizza shop, their local CVS, their local school. Like, that's a corner store traveler. And across the bridge traveler to me is somebody who is like, I'm going to go to the bordering state or maybe 2 states over. And across the border traveler is someone who's willing to leave their country and explore other countries and other continents. So yeah, I know a lot of corner store travelers, and I don't recommend it.
I tell you, I was thinking about something. I also grew up in New York, and we lived in probably 4 of the 5 boroughs. So it was nothing for me. So I had friends in the Bronx, I had friends in Brooklyn, I had friends in Queens. I spent most of my teens and early 20s in Queens, and then I moved to Brooklyn when I moved out on my own. So I was kind of always traveling. You know, I had girlfriends that we lived in Queens, but they went to school in Manhattan, and they took the train or the bus every day. That's very, very normal in this part of the in New York. I would say it's not that odd, right? What's also normal is Brooklyn people stay in Brooklyn, and Bronx people stay in the Bronx. So you better not go to Brooklyn if you don't, you know. So there's a mindset there. But I was thinking, I moved after my husband and I got married. I always say we didn't have $1 million to buy a house in our neighborhood in Brooklyn. So we ended up building a house in Pennsylvania, right? In Stroudsburg, which is like the Pocono area. And during that time, it was after 9/11, a lot of people were it was a mass exodus, much like what just happened recently, where a lot of people left New York. But I still worked in New York. So I would do the commute from Stroudsburg to the city every day, 2.5 hours each way, 2.5 on a good day, right? So you are, you know, I spent 20 hours a week on Route 80 driving, you know, going back and forth. But it just became what you did, and it was very normalized for me. During that time, I met a girlfriend. As you said, a lot of people travel to New York, moved to New York for their careers. And one of my girlfriends, Joanna Stokes, moved from Texas. And she said, she's a crystal. She's like, you blow my mind because you talk about moving through states. Like, she's like, I live in Texas. Is Texas the largest state in the United States? So she's like, when you're in Texas, you're not going to like, you know what I mean? So she said, so sometimes I'm talking to you and I'm just like, my mind is blown because you're talking about running to Connecticut real quick to, you know, visit somebody, or New Jersey, or, you know, and I was like, because they're neighboring. Right. Oh, I only get these tomatoes from, you know, Philly, you know? So I think there's part of it is really being closer in proximity to things and being able to travel easily and through public transportation, and it's not a big deal. But then at this very same time, there are people that I met in New Jersey that have never been to, over 40 years old, and never been to New York. And I was saying I won't say who it is, but I was saying, I've truly tried not to be like a judgmental person, but I was like, you can see New York from here. You never been to New York? And then I was like, that's judgy. So instead it came out like, oh, well, maybe you should go one day.
But why do you think that is? Why do you think? I
think that's the reason for this show, mindset.
I want to jump in. I think it's not even, the question is not even, are you a corner store traveler or a across the bridge traveler? The question is, how much confidence and how comfortable are you in your own skin? Like, you see, for example, let's say how people sometimes they travel and they pack their whole entire house with them. They pack everything and they feel like, I'm going to need this, I'm going to need that, I'm going to need everything. They don't have enough. I don't know if it's a lack of confidence. I don't know if it's a lack of self. I don't know. In French, the word that I'm looking for, and I can't figure it out in English. I was trying to Google, but what came up I didn't convey what I was trying to say. There's a word I call débrouillard. Débrouillard is when you basically have very little and you make something out of it. It's that mindset. It's almost like common sense. It's almost like where you're so comfortable, where you like, oh, I could pack up and just go, and I'm going to be comfortable. And I think that some people sometimes they feel like if they get out of their comfort zone, they're not going to be comfortable. They're not going to be okay to be okay. And it's a mindset. But if you think about it, like, again, I can't help thinking about that person that's overpacking, that's going to take their hair dryer, this, that. At the end of the day, the world connect. You're going to get everything you need. Just find it.
Wow.
You're going to get that.
I'm 100%. Is there something higher than 100%? Because that's me. 120,000,000% that woman that packs the entire house to
So
go.
Really?
what do you do it then?
What? And I, now that you're saying that, I'm like,
Huh.
every time you go somewhere, they do have everything you need,
And
They
I bet
wherever
you
you
do.
you end
go.
up wearing 4 outfits
Oh,
because you're
that's real.
comfortable, or
That's
maybe,
real.
right?
Honey.
I
That is so true. And it's such
Well,
a good point, though. It does speak to mindset, what you're talking about, Edna.
well,
Right?
you're like,
It's like,
we don't need a lot, but what we need is right here. So you know what? Let's go across the border. We're taking what we need with us.
I agree with you. I mean, I used to be that girl that
I
would
don't
take.
know. It's like how I put it out well.
No,
It was just
that's great. I used to be that girl that would have to have her big suitcase and all that stuff. And then I got to the point I take Billy tell you I take unless I have to take a big suitcase, I take a smaller suitcase. I have my essential workout clothes, my sneakers. I used to have this huge shoe game, and I used to get there, and I had the same sneakers on. So why you bringing 4 pair? Why you bringing let's talk about the outfits or whatever goes with the light pair shoe and the black shoe. I even think about the clutch, and it gets to a point I realized I stopped packing so much for me when I started getting comfortable with me. When I started
yeah.
me and saying, you know what, these 3 little dresses, they're gonna be fine. You don't have to take all 10. They look the same, and go with
Right.
that. When I started getting comfortable with me, I started to pack lighter, and I was able to zoom faster. And the thing about
Yes.
packing lighter, I felt better. And if something would happen, I could switch flights. Like I didn't have to go,
Easy.
oh, is my stuff gonna make it? Like I even got down to the point, y'all, I buy these,
Yep.
and I like my
Me
moves
too.
and all that stuff. I'm like, is there a Whole Foods where I'm going? If some push come to shove, if I run out, I'll go there. So when I started to get comfortable with myself, I found that I started to pack lighter, and I started to say, this is what's gonna go. And if I don't have it, then
You'll
you know
make do. You know
I,
what I realized in you saying that, Nikki? I always pack light. I don't want a lot of stuff. I always want to have a suitcase. I used to want to have a suitcase I could carry on the plane, but now I'm like a woman of a certain age. You could take it and put it under the plane because I need to just tip with my cute little bag and sit down and wait to board.
right.
But what I realize is when I'm packing, I always want to have space to bring things back, not for other
Love
people,
that.
but
Love that.
something that commemorates like my experience where I went, especially places I've never been before. And I think that's what travel does for us. It introduces us to things about ourselves or things about the world that we didn't know or recognize before. And that expands us. And we have to have space for that.
It's
What you said
That's
made me
so
think of
that's
that.
so good. And I was thinking, based on what Edme said, this is also transcending through other parts of our lives, right? When you're not comfortable, you're like this, I need this and I need this, or with respect to this travel conversation we're having, we can only go here because this is what I know and whatever. And then how you can get to the airport and you see people with a carry-on or just a, roll back, and then you see people with the whole house. And I'm like, okay, if you're traveling for work, I understand I need, maybe, things for meetings, or, if I'm going, I need a special occasion outfit or whatever, but we don't need that much stuff. And that's a problem kind of, I think particularly in this country, societally, we're all about having so much stuff, and the more stuff people have, the better they feel or the better it looks seemingly. But also it's like, how can that Erykah Badu song, Bag Lady, you gonna miss your bus. You can't hurry up because you got too much stuff.
That's right.
And really what I need, Edme, I want to go somewhere with you. Okay. Because I feel like I just need a ponytail, and everything else is
And
where
some lip
we
gloss.
going. And and some a little brow shadow, whatever. That's it.
Yeah.
Because that's where joy is. That's where joy is.
Well,
Because
I'm
really,
jealous.
none of you talked about clothes where you talked about where you went. You talked about the experience.
Exactly.
And I envisioned you guys being beautiful wherever you were because of who you are, not because of what you're wearing.
Well, speaking of joy, though, when did you find the joy of traveling? When did you experience it? Were you younger? Were you older? When did you find the joy of traveling?
Well, I'll say this. I've traveled all over the world, and I think I've said this before on the show. I've traveled all over the world, but I didn't start experiencing my travel until I was not traveling as consistent as I was being paid to do it. When I was doing it on my own time is when I actually started experiencing it. And I always say that I don't use the word regret too often. However, I definitely regret not experiencing traveling when I was being paid to do it all over the world. Like, y'all, for real, I have been all over the world, and I can't tell you half of the places that I've been to because I didn't experience it. I didn't. And I always say that if I can go back and change one thing about my life's trajectory, that is what I would change. I would still have the same experiences because I believe that definitely made me who I am and continues to make me who I am. But I would actually like experience these different countries, these different cities, to the fullest potential. I love live music. I love good food. I love all this. But then when I would go away, I would just like get into a shell. And I would be like, I'm here for work. I'm very, very like, you guys get to know me. I'm very like tunnel vision with responsibility. Like, I'm here to do this. I don't want to be altered off of my game because I went out drinking with people, whatever. Not realizing that, you can go and experience the culture and not be belligerent. You know what I'm saying? But at 20, in Paris and all this place, you'd be like, oh God, I'm gonna lose my mind being out here, just like, going and being and all the things. And so
Yeah.
I think I didn't really start experiencing until I was like late 20s, early 30s, that I was like, oh no, I need to like experience this, look through my actual islands, not through a lens of a phone, not through a lens of somebody else, not through all the other things. Like, it was late for me.
Yeah.
And like I said, I've been traveling literally like my whole life.
Yeah.
And I didn't start experiencing travel and realizing the correlation between like experiences and growth, experiences and life, experiences and stuff. I was like early 30s. Crazy.
I started super early. My mom, Murdy worked for Pan Am. Y'all remember Pan Am? So
I love it.
I love it. Yeah, Murdy worked for Pan Am for like 30 years. And her and my father were like, they were always pushing us to go somewhere, like go outside, go play. And also, like, as soon as school was over, the following week, Keisha and I would be in sleepaway camp for like 7 weeks. Like, Murdy wasn't playing, like, bye. And then we get home, and like 2 days later, Murdy, my dad, and me and Key would be on vacation for like 2 weeks. And then when we get back and school would start like 3 days later. Like, I never spent summers in New York City, but my parents also traveled a lot. Like, my dad, I remember one birthday, my mother said, well, what do you want for your birthday? Like, what kind of food do you want to eat? And he said he wanted Cajun food. So Murdy took him to New Orleans for 4 days, right? Like, that was his, like, she was like, bye, your grandmother down the street if you need her. I'm going to take my man to go get Cajun food where they really make Cajun food. So traveling has been a part of my life since I can remember. I think the first trip I ever took, my mother took me to London when I was like 3. And so I've always had this like go somewhere, but also I think I'm realizing in this conversation that because I was traveling young with my family, I got the opportunity to just experience where I went because I didn't have to plan or pack or pay or, all the things you do to get somewhere. I just would get up and put on the clothes that I needed to and follow them. So being in places really allowed me to build this habit of like Shawnee said, see through my eyeballs, like what's going on here, right? And when you get to these places, I'm a off the beaten path. Like even when I went to Jamaica, we were at Sandals, which has everything, but we sure did walk down the beach off property and had to leave our name with the security guard in case we got abducted. They could tell the news who we were. But we went down to like this Jamaican, he called himself Snoop Dogg because he looked just like him, who like basically swims in the ocean and brings you back crab and lobster and then cooks it on the grill in front of you with, little picnic tables outside. That's always been important to me, but I think it's because I had that experience so young that it's just really a part of who I am, but I'm grateful for it because it has taught me so much about myself. Every place I go, I learn something else about who I am and what I need and what I want and what I like.
I don't think I've really started experiencing traveling until now. I had one experience. I think when I went to Beijing, that was a real experience. I really got immersed in what was happening. And I was there with a purpose to be immersed with their culture. Eating authentic food, watching the people dance on the street in below zero weather, going to the bathroom outside and it's nothing but a hole and having to pay for, each perforated strip of toilet paper. That was an experience, but I've done a lot of travel. And outside of that, I don't think I'm started really experiencing until I'd even say like this trip. I've always had a purpose or was part of my life, right? So I actually wrote this down because I think it's more than mindset. I think when I think about all the different people that I have or have come in company with in my life as friends or, people who have been in my life here and there, it's the introduction to experiences that open your eyes to being able and interested in travel. And that I look at it as being a part of your life too, right? So I grew up every year after my parents passed away. I lived with my sister and my brother-in-law, and part of my upbringing was for many years, every year we went to the Cayman Islands. Like that was just something we did. And for other people, that would have been like, wow. For me, it was like, that's just what we do, right? His family was from the Cayman Islands and that was part of my upbringing. Yet when I was very young, I too, if I'm not mistaken, I had been to London. I definitely went to London once in surrounding areas with my family. And I know I did it in college again. But again, it was just sort of part of my experiences. There's also circumstances, right? People are in situations where their circumstances just don't allow them, but they sit there and they dream, right? They love to get out, right? There's people who just want to get out, but just don't have the opportunity to. There's habit. There's people who just live and they are surrounded by people who just, their habit is just, they just don't go any further than maybe the next town, right? It's not that they're not interested. They just never thought about it because that's not what's in their circle to talk about, right? And then there's people who it's just familiar. I'm going to stay in my familiar, right? Because it's fear. And that's where the mindset comes into, right? So for me, there's many different reasons why maybe the masses of us don't travel. A large part of it, though, in my opinion, is introduction to experiences and making them affordable and available and showing people what they can get out of the travel that we're not necessarily all exposed to.
Mm-hmm. Right? I'm sorry, Nikki.
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, when we were having our meeting and Edme my mind was blown when she was talking about her childhood, but that's exactly and even Lachelle, when you were just describing your introduction to travel as a child, it's so instrumental to the adults we become, because and I'm sure Edme will share her story, but it explained her fully to me. Like, everything that I was like, oh, I wonder this, I wonder that. I know now, because when she told that story, I was like, that's who Edme is. When you just shared your story, Lachelle, about your introduction to travel, you're still very much, you experience a conversation very, very engaged, right? You're very
it's like vacation. Conversation is like vacation
so
for me.
you describe, yeah.
But
And
just
then,
think, if we share a lot more of those stories, we can introduce people to the ideas of visiting outside of their comfort zone, or making that way or path for them to be able to do the same. Because a lot of people don't realize, and I consistently learn too through someone else's experiences, what's available for me to even experience, right? And that's part of, that's just traveling in story, right? And that creates the interest and the want to see for yourself.
Absolutely. Influence is an 80% of it, I think. Maybe more. Influence. I was telling the ladies on our call, I was saying my mother, although like her profession is travel, like my mother was a professional driver. She drove for the city for 25 years. She had to go all over. My mother's mode of transportation by choice to go anywhere is by car. Like if she could drive to Jamaica, she probably would. But my mom never traveled. My mother's birthday is next week and she'll be 60 years old. And I'm forcing her to travel for her birthday, basically. We had a conversation about it and I was just like, you've never traveled. She's never discouraged us from traveling, but she was always had this like fear of leaving her children, leaving her 4 children at home, being too far away, something happened and she can't get back quick enough, or just like the gamut of of being a parent list that comes with traveling. She didn't come from a family that traveled at all. She didn't come from a wealthy family that was able to travel 5 children. That wasn't her upbringing. So it wasn't something in her forefront like, oh, I can find a cheap way to travel me and my family, because we are a big family. A family of 6 is a lot to get on a plane, get on anything. And so we did do car travel. Like we would get in the car and go to Arkansas, like local. That's local to me. Going from California to Arkansas to see family, that's like local travel, but that's like the furthest we would go. I was telling them the only trip I can ever remember my mother taking my whole life was when she went to visit my dad. My dad was stationed in Hawaii, and my mom made it a point to, go see her man in Hawaii. But that was like such a big step for her because she had never did anything. It went that long, like flown that long. Like it was a big step for her. She also had no example of that ever. Like her siblings, her mother, no one around her, her friends, none of that when she was younger ever did any traveling. They was from the hood. They're from the East End in Little Rock, Arkansas. Like they don't know about traveling. You know what I'm saying? And so she never, it was interesting to me, and still is interesting to me, that although she has so many reserves when it comes to traveling, she never was like, I don't want you guys to travel. She was like, y'all go ahead, but I'm gonna say my brothers played semi-pro ball. Like they was traveling all the time, but she would send them with my dad, or like some of that nature. My dad was in the military, so he traveled all the time, but never for pleasure. It was always work filled. And I think that's probably why my mindset is that too. Like you travel, you go to work. You ain't doing too much of like, soaking up the sun and the things around you. But it's definitely influence, because I know like now, of being around like world travelers, I'm like, oh my God, I gotta go. Like what's next? My intimate circle of friends like my friends are going to freaking St. Lucia tomorrow. And like that's what they do. Like they go places all the time, and it makes me like, what am I missing? Like, why?
I think that's the biggest takeaway though, Chandra. And that's where I think I'm right there with you and that's why I say, like, it's experiencing it. Like experiencing where we are and hearing other people's stories so that we can go to experience their things that they saw as well. Because, just like you, I think, and I've done a lot of travel, like from different states, whether it's all the stuff I did with my daughter over the last X many years, we had no fun in any of those states. Or when I think about before my parents died, my dad would take me every summer. We go to North Carolina because we had to see our grandfather. It was like you're traveling because you had to, because that's how you're going to get there, but not really appreciating everything that's involved in it, right?
Right.
It's funny you say that, and everything that's appreciated and involved. When I like to fly, I enjoy flying.
Me too.
That's when I travel, the experience starts there. I actually cannot wait to get on the plane. And I remember as a kid, we traveled by car a lot. We would go to Florida. I'm from Virginia. We go here and we'd have these great road trips. And I remember the first time I flew on a plane, I was a senior in high school. I was 17 years old. And the reason I didn't end up getting on the plane, I had to be at a track meet and a chorus function all within the same. I was in this big contest and at this huge state track meet. And we had to be in the same place. And, ever since I was 7, I wanted to get on a plane to go see the Statue of Liberty. And I remember everyone was trying to figure out, well, how's Nikki going to get there? And I remember I looked and I looked in the phone book, looked up Continental, and I went, I can fly. And my mom goes, you sure can. And I ended up flying. And I remember being on this plane. And I was like, this is amazing. I'm going to always do this. And then when I got to college running track, we flew all the time. And then after that, we still have our road trips, but I would fly or I take a train. But my trip starts there. And I remember the first time I flew first class, I called my mom. She was like, girl, act like you've been there. Because I was like, before we took off, I was like, Ma, and they bring you cookies and
orange juice in a glass.
Yes. And I remember I flew first class. I remember a week later, I was back in coach and I was like, I can smell the cookies. But I mean, and then I started flying a lot for work, I'm going back to Chicago. And so the experience always starts with me with the plane. And even when I went to LA this week, I couldn't wait to get on the plane for 2 reasons. I think I like the plane because it's the one place and how to not worry about this by just putting it down.
Yeah.
Y'all froze. Can y'all see me?
We hear you. Go ahead. You moving. You moving. You moving.
Y'all froze.
We got you.
We hear you.
No, we froze. We hear you.
Oh, you hear me?
We hear
So
you.
I don't have to worry about my phone or someone contacting me. It's like I'm forced to not do it. So I'm learning how not to do that. And I just love sitting in the chair. I love having the option to watch Pose 50 million times if I want to. It's
Same.
just a whole experience for me. And then when the plane lands, I'm like, yes, I think the plane and the experience of the plane sets me up for where I'm going. And like Chandra talked about intentions for the week, it helps me set my intention for that moment. So if it's for work, instead of it being an anxiety-ridden thing, it's something I have time to say, we're going to walk into it like this. When I'm coming back home, what we're going to do and what we're not going to do. So my experience always starts with that plane ride that gets me into wherever I'm going to go. And then one more thing I want to say, the first time I traveled abroad, it was just, that was when I knew, okay, I need to do more of this. I need to experience more of this. I remember when I went to Tokyo, I was there for 3 weeks. And shout out to Tokyo. My Olympians are in Tokyo. Shout out to Fran and Daryl. But I remember when I went to Tokyo and I remember going, I need to do this all the time. I like the corner store, but I need to continue to go across the bridge. I need to go across the border. And I just started to really realize I want to experience different cultures, experience different people, because it there's growth in it. There's growth in it. There's growth in traveling. It makes me what am I
takeaway this week.
Yeah.
It is not just for the special reasons. It is not just because, you want to treat yourself once. My takeaway this week is, what the hell have I been doing? Like, this is how, just like you get up and bathe yourself, my lotioning routine. At the end of the day, this is part of what we should be doing. No matter how far you want to go, we should be experiencing life. We only have one life that we're going to pass through as this person, depending on whatever your beliefs are, in this body, the way we are today, for however long it's going to last. Like, we need to be experiencing every moment. And that was like the biggest takeaway is, what the hell have I been doing? You're like passing through life without taking away all the goodness.
Taking it in.
Really taking it in. And this is not just for the celebration.
And it's funny too, Nikki, you talk about taking it in. It's also discovery. I'm gonna make y'all laugh. I have these reading glasses, right? And I got to the airport to go back from LA to New York, and I could not see the board. It was like, and I was like, why can I not see this? And I said, let me just try something.
It's happening.
I told Billy it was like a whole new world. I was like, and then I was like this.
So that's what travel is.
The discovery of traveling.
Discovery.
My damn reading glasses.
I love that. You know what I figured out in this conversation? Over the pandemic, I've been thinking about the pandemic over the last year. Like last year when I was in North Carolina, 2 or 3 times while I was there, my sons petitioned to leave the safety of where we were and come back to New York City because they wanted to be in their own home and they wanted to see their friends. And part of me was, as a mom of Black sons, obviously I was concerned, right? And worried. And I knew that everything was sort of topsy-turvy. It always has been, right? But it was just on the front page at this point. But I realized, even now, the influence me living my life the way that I have has influenced them. Because my sons go anywhere. I told y'all my son graduated from college and left for Mexico 2 days later, all on his own. I didn't even know the boy planned the trip, let alone pay for it. My younger son will get on his bike and he will ride anywhere he can. He'll ride 60, 70, 80 miles in a day. And I don't know where he is. He's in Brooklyn. He's in Jersey. He's over everybody's bridge, under everybody's tunnel. He's everywhere, just seeing the world. He will ride to a basketball court in Staten Island to shoot hoops with people he doesn't know, right? And I'm realizing that I believe they gathered that from watching me and my husband. He travels a lot too. Also, like your mama, by car. That's his way to go. But like I'm grateful for what I was able to experience and my desire to continue to go to different places, whether it's Brooklyn or Beijing, right? To learn myself in other environments because I'm seeing it play out in my children, right? And they know themselves. Every time they come back from wherever they've gone, there's a little bit more of them that they know that gets revealed to me, right? So it is traveling, right? Traveling to find yourself. You have to leave your space, no matter how small or big that is. Even if you're a world traveler, you got to go to places you've never been to look at it in ways you've never seen. And if you're a corner store traveler, you got to go to the next borough or the next town, right? Or a different restaurant. Like, you have to do this, or else you're doing what Nikki described as like, you're just passing through life and not taking anything in.
That's right.
And that's what we're here for, I think.
Have any of y'all seen the difference of people who like went away to school versus didn't?
Oh yeah.
Oh yes.
Of people who traveled and haven't, and
Absolutely.
you've had relationships where they kind of they change, right, because of the things you've been exposed to versus others that haven't. Yeah. So
I'll say this. I definitely once I started experiencing travel like through my own lens 100% wholeheartedly, that's when I found God and like myself, the God in me, through me, is me, I am God, through meeting beautiful spirits and people and like connecting with people. And growing up in church it's very one-sided. Yeah, you're in this, I mean, the box is like, can you see the box? Because it's like you know what I mean? And I have this conversation with some of my people that I grew up with that are like hardcore, saved, sanctified church people that don't go outside of their boxes. And I was just like, I didn't know God how I know God now and how I see God now until I started experiencing travel and other people and the way that they see God. The way that people outside of the US see God is so huge that it just blew my mind. I'm like, oh, I've been boxing homie in. Like, God, the universe, or however you see it. Like I had to move outside of myself to understand that, which is why like my vision is so huge now, because I was able to experience God from a different lens and understand that, oh, I've been doing it wrong this whole time. But it wasn't until I started experiencing travel and people outside of my, that's the ant story I was telling y'all.
Right.
Till my jar got shook.
Sandra, but before we wrap up, I want you to share the ant story real quick, because I think that's such a great story. But talking about, experiencing people outside of our country. I mean, we got Edme right here who's been experiencing this.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, forever. Yeah, Edme.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right. So I wish you guys could see my notebook. I wrote so much stuff, but even as Nikki, you were talking, Chandra, as you were talking, there's one thing that I want to bring up to everyone. I'm sure we're going to concur and agree, is travels remove fears. Travels brings liberation. Travels brings experience. These are all the little stuff that I wrote. Travel create bonds through people. Travel, I'm just gonna go through everything that I've been writing. I wrote down the price is in the journey. Like you said, Nikki Kim and Boss. It's not about where you go, it's the fact that you're going. You ever see a pet that's in a cage for all his life, and you finally open that cage, and you would think that it will fly out all happy? It first just is like scared because he's never been out. He's gonna take a few steps, then come back. Then he's gonna take 4 steps, then come back. Then he's gonna take 6 steps, come back. What is happening is he's gaining confidence. He's getting, the fear goes away. And as the fear, it's funny because you guys talk about so much stuff, and also God, that I want to bring quickly on. I know we gotta wrap up. Is as we travel, we are gaining confidence about ourselves. We're getting to know others, and we're getting to lose fear and to not be scared of taking risks, not just to travel, but risk in life. The parallel, I think there's a very strong parallel between people that do travel, like Nikki and Buzz said, or people that go and study abroad. They're more risk takers. They're more successful because not because they got exposed, but because they know they can. They're gonna take chances that other people will not take.
Yes.
And you talking about God is interesting. If you're aware, I'm raising a Christian daughter at home, and she's always like sometimes, I get stressed, and my daughter always says to me, Mom, if you really, really have faith and you really, truly believe in God, there's no reason to have fear. There's no
Amen.
reason to have fear if you
Correct.
fully believe. Jesus was traveling. The more you get to be out there, and like you said, the closer you getting to God, and the stronger your faith in yourself and your faith in God, and whatever that is that you believe gets stronger. So I really strongly believe that the really strong point is people have fears, and as we know, fear is one of the strongest strength and feeling that can either push people to do things or stop them from doing things. It's how do you utilize fears in your life?
Well, all right, Pastor.
Go ahead. Oh, okay. I don't know if I think I'm gonna emphasize, or I may be, just repeating, but I too had certain things that just stood out to me. And based off of what you're saying, Edmay, for me, travel is growth, right? Crystal talked about mindset. So it's growth in mindset. It's growth in diverse perspective. It's growth in how you develop your opinion. It's growth in your decision making. When the more you travel, the more you learn, the more you'll know. It's growth in understanding. It's growth in acceptance, right? Of difference. Yes. So it's, for me, travel is growth. And again, I'll say, travel, as little away from your home or as far as you can from your home. Putting yourself in different places, environments, gives you the opportunity, as I've often said in the past, to be more, right? Because you're growing.
I agree. I think that the growth.
Oh, totally true. You're growing. The second you step out, you're growing.
But I have a question, Edmay. Nikki talking about how traveling really, it's about growth. For you coming from another country and traveling here and traveling so much that you have, how has that played in your life and who you are? Crystal says that when she heard your travel story, she then understood you. How has that made you grow? Tell us a little bit about that before we wrap up. I'm interested.
How did that make me grow? I was, again, connecting some memories. I think what my parents gave me, I don't want to keep on pounding on the fear thing. My parents gave me a certain confidence. I mean, when you're on a boat in the middle of the ocean, and I really mean in the middle of the ocean, and all you see is blue sky, blue water, and you got nothing besides just you and your parents, and you're on ocean for 24 hours. Or when you're my car on my own from New York to the Hampton, sometimes 3 hours. It's, I don't know, it kind of gave me a certain confidence, a certain level of understanding, made me feel like there was nothing that I couldn't conquer in a way, made me feel like, I'm not sure. And I think it definitely had to do with all of the places. Hold on. Okay, sorry, I'll be right off. I gotta go so quick. No. So it definitely played a huge influence with who I am and the way that I take and approach things traveling. I'm not really saying it because I'm just processing everything, but just like there was no boundaries. There's no boundaries, no barriers. Like, okay, it's never been a big deal. Like, it's like, for me, like a boat or a car or a train is just a mode of transportation from one place to another place. I know it's like silly, but
No, it's not silly at all.
It's just,
Why come here from Guadalupe? Like that in itself, to me, is something right there.
Mm-hmm.
There's something different. You know, for me, coming out of the States, right, and going abroad, that's growth. For you, coming from Guadalupe to the States, what is that for you, Edna?
give me 1 second, ladies.
Okay.
I have a thing.
I wanted to say something.
Go ahead.
Based on what Edna was talking about, I realized in this conversation, and I've said the last part of this before, but when you travel, right, and we're not necessarily just talking about getting on a plane or a boat or a car. Like when you go outside of what is comfortable and familiar to you, and you experience places and people and conversations, you know yourself better. And what I think Edna's trying to say is what I've said before, is the safest place to be in the world is knowing yourself, right? The more you know yourself, the safer you are. Excellent. So you are okay going places. You are okay going anywhere that is not assigned for you according to what the world will say. And I think that from what Edna was saying, I feel like all of her travel and vacation and adventures with her family growing up helped her to know herself. So even when she was leaving Guadalupe and coming to New York, right? Coming to New York from anywhere is a harrowing experience, for sure. Okay. But even in doing that, I think all that her parents exposed her to, the further they took her, 24 hours on the ocean, like in the car, flying to another part of Europe, or what, everything they did helped Edna know who Edna is. So therefore, when she moves through life with whatever decision she makes, she feels a level of safety, even if she feels a level of insecurity, because she doesn't know what's ahead, or she's not sure what she'll do to, how she's going to find a dress that she didn't pack in the suitcase with too much stuff, right? Knowing yourself is the safest place to be. And I think that's what I see in Edna, is even when she's in rocky waters, she's still very safe about herself and with herself. So it makes her move forward.
Yeah. I think that's exactly what it is. The more you travel, the more you know yourself better.
And the more you know yourself, the safer you are.
Just for our viewers to know, Edna's at work, so she was supposed to be off already, going back to work. So she's running around. But I really just want to say this, Edna, I know you're at work, but she told us a story about how her father would just say, "Hey, everybody, come on, like, Saturday morning, come on, everybody, let's go." And they get on this boat. I was like, "Your father had a boat?" She goes, "Yeah." And that's, so having a boat was really normal for her. And then they would go, or her mother would say, "Hey, her mother," I said, "Do you speak several languages?" She goes, "Yeah." And she started telling me the languages she speaks. So everything that normalized it was normal for her. We know her as a friend. We don't know, like, now I'm like, okay, if you're used to someone saying, "Come on, let's go and get on the boat, and we're on the water for 24 hours. We're not really sure where we're going. My dad knows, but okay, you're secure in a different way than if you say," and this is not shade, but the person that didn't go above 14th Street until he was in his 20s is really comfortable with, "I know where my apartment is, I know where my things are, I know where this is, and that's where I'll stay," versus someone that's like, I'm from Guadalupe and I've never been to the States before, but I got this opportunity to dance in Alvin Ailey and I'm going, versus I can't do that. Right. It helped me to understand you, because I think as a person who grew up in New York, and even though I traveled within New York and around the state, around those areas, I didn't go to Europe until I was in my later 20s. I ended up traveling to Europe pretty regularly, twice a year for 10 years to the south of France, and vacationed and done a lot of that kind of stuff. But I didn't grow up doing that, So I think part of the fight that I have is experiencing that, but really coming from, a smaller kind of mindset, even though it's larger than maybe some, but it's continuing, pushing through that growth now that and then just continuing to have friends all over the world. I have friends in Australia, I have friends in Brazil, I have friends in, who are just like us, who could come on this show and are just like us, but she's in Buenos Aires. She's in, in Cannes. So I loved her sharing that her story was so kind of built from her childhood experiences. And I really want to, offer that to my kids.
And now we understand why Edme is all the time saying, we need to go get on a boat.
Right.
And I'm like, no.
We need to go get on a boat.
I think it definitely just, for me, summing it all up, I think it starting to travel young or getting exposed to it young makes the children move and navigate through life without abandonment. Like, it allows them to intentionally and purposefully live life, versus how we might have been raised, which is kind of like, walking on, like, can I do this? Can I do this? Ugh. Callie's gonna be like, oh, I can do that. It's like the ask for permission afterwards type of situation, do it and ask for permission versus for asking for permission first,
That's ask for forgiveness instead of permission.
Right. Permission. You know what I'm saying? That's the mentality that I kind of want to raise her with doing and taking leaps and traveling and going around the world. I want you to do it. I want you to live and navigate through life without abandonment. Period.
I think that's awesome, Chandra. And with us, living without abandonment, period. And we talk about the farther you go, the more you know. I want to wrap up this great conversation with your story about the ants. Share that with us, because I want to leave us with something to think about.
Real quick. So the ant story is as follows. There's two types of ants, a red ant and a black ant, and they're put into a jar, the same jar. The red ants stay on the right side, the black ants stay on the left side. They never navigate into each other's space ever. They just, go up, come down, roll back around, go back up, come down, go roll around. Same. They never are crossing paths ever. And until someone closes and shakes the jar. When they shake the jar, they're forced to be in each other's space. Now, the outcome of this is that they start attacking each other because they're just afraid of what just happened. But for me, the analogy of this story is literally until someone comes and shakes up our jar, we aren't seeing other things. We're not experiencing other things. We're just staying in our bubble. So the whole point of this story is stop walking on your right side and only on your right side. There's a left side, there's a back side, there's a front side.
There's a top, there's a bottom. Shake your jar. Shake your jar.
Shake your jar and be able to, experience other things, other sides, other people's opinions. It kind of just goes into life as a whole. We can't have a full educated opinion about anything until you really experience it firsthand. And being on your right side of your jar isn't going to allow you to experience the left side and then be able to tell somebody about it. So that's the story in a nutshell, or the quick side.
That story tells me, makes me think that the more you travel.
I'm here talking. I'm sorry. I think that is wonderful. I think that's a good way to wrap up today. The farther you go, the more you know. And one of the ways that we can keep going further is shaking up our jars. Let's keep shaking up our jars. I feel very blessed. My mom, she would shake up the jar. And by her shaking up the jar, it allowed me to go, oh, I can jump on a plane, which made me unafraid, which made all of us unafraid. Chandra, shaking up your jar and knowing that you can go further made you come to New York and decide to travel and have Callie do all the great things. Crystal, shaking up your jar at an early age, go all these different places, makes you open up your eyes. You know, you want Malachi to experience these things. Murdy and your dad showing you and your sister and your family how we gonna shake up. And I bet you they didn't even know they were shaking up the jar, you know. And Nick, Nick, I'm still blown the experience that you and your daughter had this weekend. And I just encourage you guys to keep shaking up the jar. And, you know, Ed may have been shaking up the jar since she was in the womb, you know.
Honey.
So I just want to encourage all of us viewers. Thanks for rocking with us today. Thanks for staying on with us. You know, let's continue to travel. Let's the corner store is cute, but let's go across the bridge. Let's go across the border. You know, the more we travel to find ourselves, the farther you go, the more you know, and let's keep shaking up that jar. Thank you, ladies. Thank you, viewers, for rapping and rocking with us today. I get excited. And it's just been a good day. Thanks, you guys. Anybody want to say anything before we knock out of here? We good?
Hit the road, Jack. Hit the road.
Let's go. Like Kara said, don't be an ant, honey. We're going to shake up the jar.
Yeah, go experience something.
Go experience something great.
Experience something.
Yes. All right, John, take us out, babe.
Who's first? Ladies. Who's first? Ladies. Who's first? Ladies. What time is it? It's time for the ladies. 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 It's the Lady First Chit-Chat crew. It's time for the ladies. You want. Be great. Speak what you want. Be great. Speak what you want. Be great. And we're up first. Bonjour, unbossed. Bonjour, unbossed. Bonjour, unbossed. And we're up first. Yes, ladies. That's dope. Yes, ladies. That's dope. Yes, ladies. That's dope. And we're up first. It's time for the ladies. One time for the ladies in the house. Two time make the people scream and shout. Lachelle, Chandra, Crystal with Nikki. Unbossed, Edmay, and Nikki. Hey, 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 L-A-D-I-S, and we're up first.